gun control groups are going after gun makers any way they can.
The same day the shooter in Uvalde, Texas, used a military-style assault weapon made by Daniel Defense to murder 19 children and 2 teachers, a deleted Instagram post shows the gun maker promoted the same model of weapon, urging followers to load out, military shorthand to arm for battle.
We're going to talk about that in just a minute, but first, a quick reminder, we have a gun giveaway going on. It's absolutely free, but it ends really soon. So click the link in the description down below to learn which brand new gun you could win. Okay, so just when you thought it couldn't get any worse, gun control groups have now decided to file a complaint against Daniel Defense with the Federal Trade Commission, arguing that Daniel Defense has been marketing their firearms improperly. Specifically, get this, they're marketing to young men.
What it is a direct advertising to young people to buy weapons of war.
In a new complaint to the FTC, the government's consumer protection agency, the advocacy group Everytown for Gun Safety alleges Daniel Defense preys on at-risk young men, pointing to the gun maker's social media marketing strategy, a city street in a rifle's crosshairs, and military combat missions.
And it's not just dangerous, it's deadly.
I didn't know that was a problem. Yes, Daniel Defense makes AR-15s. Very sadly, a Daniel Defense AR-15 was used illegally by the shooter in Uvalde. But that does not mean Daniel Defense or any other gun maker or ammunition maker is at fault for the actions of these criminals.
David Vladeck oversaw investigations at the FTC and says the agency has a responsibility to act.
We are now seeing an epidemic of these kinds of shootings, and the two common denominators are angry young men and assault rifles.
The trade group for gun makers denied its members were violating federal marketing laws, adding Everytown and other advocates were attempting to limit the First Amendment rights of firearm manufacturers to advertise lawful products.
The folks over at Everytown have decided that they're going to file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission saying Daniel Defense is specifically marketing to young men and at-risk young men. And I don't know how they can claim that Daniel Defense marketing is encouraging people to commit crimes. That's not what's happening. Daniel Defense does market their firearms as very reliable, highly accurate, and perfect for home defense, target shooting, and hunting. That's great. The complaint with the FTC says, well, they don't mention target shooting and hunting. Well, some of their guns are designed specifically for defensive use.
First defense is always, oh, the First Amendment protects us. But that's not true. The FTC can order the industry to change its advertising so the advertising is actually accurate.
And we need to understand what's going on here. It's that people are buying a legal product and using it illegally. So just because Daniel Defense has a great marketing program, and yes, I bet they do market to young men because there are hundreds of thousands of young men who just finished their military service, are familiar with the AR platform, and really like to use those guns for everything from hunting to target shooting to competition to home defense. Now, that doesn't mean that just because Daniel Defense has a great marketing program that they're telling people to use the guns illegally. They're not. They're telling people to use the guns legally, to use the guns for their intended purpose, which could be hunting, target shooting, competition, and in some cases, home defense. In fact, many cases, an AR-15 is a wonderful platform for home defense. It provides good ammo capacity, light recoil, maneuverability, and lightweight. It is everything you want in a home defense tool. Yes, we encourage people to use their firearms responsibly, ethically, and legally. And in that case, if you're using it responsibly, ethically, and legally, you might be forced to defend yourself against a bad guy. We understand that. But when a bad person, when a person with evil intent buys a highly regulated legal product and then chooses to use it illegally, that is not the fault of the manufacturer. It is not the fault of the marketing. It is not the fault of anybody except the individual who pointed the gun at an innocent person and pulled the trigger. This is just another clear-cut attempt of groups, gun control groups, sometimes with government help, trying to make gun makers go bankrupt. They're just trying to bankrupt them, trying to make it difficult for gun makers to do business, hoping that they will slow down the proliferation of guns. You know what? I want more guns in responsible gun owners' hands. I want more people getting training. I want more people understanding the safety rules. I want more people knowing that responsibly armed Americans with legally owned guns doing the right things, it's the right thing to do. Just because someone uses a product illegally doesn't mean the manufacturer should be held liable. Imagine what would happen to all the breweries and distilleries and automakers in this country if we decided to go down that road. This is clearly a case of gun control. It is, there's nothing else to it. Yes, the events at Uvalde were terrible and tragic. My heart goes out to everyone who was touched by this tragedy. I understand that, but we need to have a means at our disposal to fight evil. That's what the Second Amendment does for us. It gives us the opportunity as the last resort, when we are acting legally, ethically, and morally, to defend ourselves with the same weapons that an evil person might use. Now, we can't take away all the guns in the country. That would not be right, and it would be unconstitutional. We can't take away evil. That's just impossible. There are evil people in the world. We need to work on mental health issues, and we need to make sure that good, honest, law-abiding people have the right to defend themselves. So these plans to sue gun makers out of business and to make it so difficult for them to do business that they just give up, they're wrong-headed. They're going the wrong direction. We need to provide people more firearms training. We need to talk more about the responsibility of owning a firearm. We need to normalize the idea that good people use guns for good things. That's so very important. And I think everyone is missing the point when they're saying we should hold gun makers like Daniel Defense responsible for what happened in a tragic situation perpetrated by an evil person. Want to know the 3 biggest mistakes when carrying a handgun? Then click on the video next to me to reveal all 3 mistakes. Mistake number 2 may shock you. Everybody has their own cardinal rules for what they're going to do when they're carrying a gun, but right now I'm going to give you 3 things that you must never do